So in this video, I'm going to share 5 steps to creating a weight loss plan to help you lose weight fast if you're a woman over 40, and more importantly, to be able to maintain that weight loss long term. And steps number 2 and 5 are particularly important if you do want to maintain it long term. Now, do these steps actually work? They work incredibly well. How do I know that? Because I've been sharing them with my clients now for well over a decade. For example, the lady on screen you can see right now, Gainer, was able to get photo shoot ready and lose 85 pounds. So let's dive into what these 5 steps are. Step number 1, calorie deficit. Now, if you think about any of the popular diets out there, whether it's intermittent fasting, Atkins diet, Mediterranean diet, ketogenic diet, they all have one thing in common that makes them successful: calorie deficit. But we need to be in calorie deficit consistently for a period of at least 7 days. Makes sense, yeah? Most people, what they tend to do is go Monday through to Friday, and then they trip themselves up on a weekend. So all the hard work that you've put in Monday to Friday is undone on a Saturday and a Sunday. So you need to think about Monday through to Sunday evening calorie deficit. Come Monday morning, you press the reset button and you go again. Now, the chances are, if you need to lose more than 20 pounds, 50 pounds plus, you're not going to achieve that in a short period of time. And the reality is you are going to slip up. So I'm going to give you another step for overcoming that slip up. But that's step number 1, calorie deficit. Step number 2, how many calories do you actually start off eating when you want to lose weight quickly? Now, the classic is to start off on 1200 calories. That's where a lot of women will say they're going to start. There's a problem with that, and I wouldn't recommend you start there. Here are the 2 problems I recommend, or I see, with the 1200 calorie diet. Number 1, if you are incorporating exercise as part of your weight loss plan, by the way, exercise by itself isn't for weight loss, but if you're including it, which I'd recommend, then the chances are you're not going to have enough energy to sustain a good exercise routine. That's number 1. The second reason is, if you're on 1200 calories and you hit a plateau, which you more than likely will at some point, where do you go? Down to 1100, 1000, below 1000 calories? It's a recipe, no pun intended, but for disaster. So where I recommend you start is by using this simple formula. So get a pen and paper handy, pause, rewind, and get this formula written down, because it's going to be very useful for you. So let's take, for example, your target body weight being 10 stone. 10 stone equals 140 pounds. Take 140 pounds, or whatever your target body weight is, and multiply it by 12. So if we take 10 stone, which is 140 pounds, multiply that by 12, that gives us 1,680 calories as a starting point. Now, I can hear you thinking, hang on, Eric, that's a lot of calories. I'm not going to lose weight starting at that high. Well, chances are you're probably eating way more than that anyway. So I'd recommend that should be a roundabout ballpark figure for starting. Run that for a week. If you see the weight coming off, you can happily stick with that for at least 6, maybe even 12 weeks and see your weight steadily come down. If you don't see any weight loss after the first 7 days, then look to shave off maybe another 100, possibly 150 calories, and then reassess again 7 days later. Once you see the weight coming down, that's what you stick with for a period of time until you hit a plateau. Now, I could go into more detail about this, but as a starting point, that is an excellent way to do it. Step number 3 in your weight loss plan to accelerate your weight loss is, what do you include in your diet? Well, there are 3 key macronutrients: proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Question is, how much of those do you actually eat? Now, before I get into this, just to let you know, below this video there is a link to my free Boost Weight Loss Assessment. It takes about 3 minutes to complete. You get a full-blown report, but you also get a healthy eating plan, which has all the meals mapped out, the recipes, the cooking times, shopping list, a weekly meal planner. That's all there below this video. You can access that after watching this video. So let's get back to what to include: proteins, fats, and carbs. In terms of protein, how much? Again, let's use 10 stone as your target weight. So that would be 140 pounds. You want to be consuming 1 gram of protein per pound of your target body weight. So whatever your target body weight is, you want to be eating 1 gram of protein. When it comes to fat, you don't want to be going any lower than 40 grams of fat. If you start going below that, it's going to really mess up your hormones, and it's going to affect a lot of different bodily functions that we need to keep operational while we're trying to lose weight. And when it comes to carbohydrates, I split carbohydrates into 3 specific areas. Area number 1 is vegetables, area number 2 is salads, and area number 3 is fruit. So the first two areas, salads and vegetables, you don't really need to weigh and measure. You can eat those in abundance. You just need to be careful with how you cook them and what dressings you might add to them. When it comes to fruit, I recommend just one piece of fruit a day because of the sugar content. You don't want to be taking on board too much sugar. Now, I can hear you thinking, well, what about bread, rice, pasta, and all of those sorts of things that I like to eat as well? Well, if you are going to eat those, just understand it will potentially slow the process down. And one of the things it can also do to sort of derail you mentally is when you eat starchy carbohydrates, they attract and retain a certain amount of water. So it's feasible that you could be going along quite happily, seeing your weight come down. Saturday night you have a meal out, includes pasta, spaghetti, rice, that type of thing. You get on the scale Sunday morning and suddenly, bang, you've gone up by 2 pounds and you can't believe it. Well, what that is, it's water weight. So I recommend to my clients, try and eliminate that for a period of time and then reintroduce it slowly once you've got to your target goal weight. But if you are going to have carbohydrates, just understand you need to portion control them, but also recognize you may be retaining some water weight. So the day after eating a pasta type meal or a starchy carbohydrate type of meal, the chances are you may see a little bit of weight gain, but it's actually water weight. Step number 4 is tracking and measuring. And yes, we have to track and measure. And I know from my own personal experience, when I'm not tracking and measuring, I know what I'm doing is basically burying my head in the sand. So how are we going to track and measure? You've got two options really. You weigh, measure, and you write it down. Weigh, measure, and use an app. The app that I use is MyFitnessPal. It's one I recommend to my clients. Once you get it all set up, and it can be a bit fidgety to set up, but once it's set up, you can literally populate your breakfast, lunch, and evening meal in under 30 seconds. So you're good to go for the day. But not tracking your food intake and trying to eat intuitively, in my opinion, when you're starting out, is not a good approach, because what you'll find is you'll forget to account for something, you'll miscalculate how much you're eating of a particular food, you know, extra 50 calories here, extra 100 calories there, a drink that you didn't think about. And before you know it, over the course of a week, you've consumed an extra 1,000 calories without even thinking about it. And that 1,000 calories can be the difference between you seeing the scales going down or the scales remaining where they are. So you need to track and measure. And step number 5 is a recovery plan. Because look, if you need to lose 20 to 50 pounds, that's going to take you anywhere between 12 weeks to 6 months plus to lose that. So the chances are you're going to go off piste and you are going to overindulge at some point. It's just inevitable, it's going to happen. It's very rare that somebody has a weight loss that does that without any blips in it. So when you have that blip, how do you recover quickly? Well, you go back to step number 3, which is what to include in your diet. You have proteins, fats, and carbs. What you don't do is skip a whole day worth of eating or start cutting out food groups or going well below 1,000 calories, because when you do that, A, you're going to starve yourself, lose the energy, lose the nutrition, and what you do is you set up a cycle for more sort of binge eating. So the recovery plan should be to go back to the healthy eating plan that was working for you and saw you losing 1.5 pounds, 1.25 pounds, 3/4, 2 pounds a week. You go back to that as your very next meal. Hopefully you found that of value. Until the next video, take very good care. And don't forget to sign up for that free assessment where you get the healthy eating plans as well. Bye for now.